What's going on, guys? So I was actually recording this video to talk about the skill-based matchmaking and my experience with it, but I'm gonna have to find some more gameplay because I actually had the luckiest Pinhead game I've ever had. Right off the bat, I find the box back to back to back. Like, I've never had anything like that. Usually I don't even find the box at all in my games, and in this game, they just gave me the box non-stop. So I had a ton of pressure early on. It felt really good to actually have my ability feel like it did something, and it did stall the game long enough for me to stop the game before 3 gens. And it is somewhat of a testament to my experience with skill-based matchmaking and how I'm getting like these weird groups that don't feel nearly as consistent as the old system, where I'm getting, you know, maybe one experienced player and the rest feel like they're not very experienced, and this is a decently high MMR. I'm not gonna claim to be like the best or anything, but you know, I know my way around a killer. But anyway, enjoy the gameplay. I hope you like it. I'll go over some of my thoughts in the game as we go, and let me know how your experience with the new skill-based matchmaking has gone since the change. Alright, so off the bat, I used my oak offering so I get all the hooks closer together. It helps with the scourge hooks, and I just like having the full immersion of playing Pinhead and having hooks everywhere. So the perks I'm running with him are barbecue and chili, hex plaything, scourge hook, and pop goes the weasel, which for the most part all interact with hooking the survivors in some way. I think it's pretty fun. It's not the most ideal and immersive build that I could come up with, and there are some perks I still need to unlock, but it works pretty good for what I'm trying to go for. So immediately off the bat, I'm looking for the survivors. I get a little notification there, but I do find 3 here, and I choose to go after the Claudette. For some reason, I just sniffed a little bit of, you know, inexperience coming from her. So we get the easy hit at the window. She already transitions real early, which is probably safe. That's not a very safe loop there. And then I hear my little box going off. I was like, what is that? So then I get this chain hunt going, and it actually comes in really clutch. It stops the other people from doing the gens. It keeps pulling them off. We do land this possessed hook here, which does help us close a bit of a gap. And I believe we down her right before she makes it to the killer shack, which is awesome because once people get to the killer shack and they actually know what they're doing, it can be pretty dreadful. And a lot of the times I end up abandoning the chase because it goes on way too long. And a lot of good survivors will play around the shack, and they know when to use their palette really smart and how to loop around the window, and they can mind game the killer pretty well. So I tend to not commit to those very often. And after hooking her, I hear the box again. I was so just baffled. I'd never had that happen in a game with Pinhead after, like, I don't know, I'm maybe 30 games in. So we get her. She's on the way for the unhook already. Good teamwork on their part, but it was just unlucky. She goes for the pallet. She drops the pallet ahead of time, which is pretty smart. And she ends up getting hooked by the possess hook, and she's running to another loop trying to make distance, but we have the chain hunt still going. Very, very annoying. So she's trying to loop us around this tile, and she realizes there is nothing there, and she missed the pallet just by a little bit. So we pick her up. I get the sense that she's not maybe the most experienced survivor, so I start to ease up a tiny bit, but you know, I still want to, you know, get the good gameplay for the video. And look at this, we get the box a 3rd time so quickly next to each other. It blew my mind. There was like no way that was gonna happen ever again. I did actually just pick up Hoarder from the twins, and honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I do not like playing the twins. It is kind of a chore, and there's a lot to keep track of, like Victor and going back and forth. But it is worth it getting Hoarder for Pinhead. I haven't tried it yet. I'm very excited to try it though for the first time. And I'm thinking Franklin's Demise also interacts that way. I'm not sure if it works like a typical item, like a med kit or a toolbox, but if it does, and I missed this hook, it's so sad. But if it does, and they're carrying the box and they haven't managed to solve it right away, I feel like that'd be really strong, as you get a free chain hunt that way. Paired with Hoarder, that would be really strong, and we get the box a 4th time. It's nuts. So I grabbed that quick before picking up Claudette. At this point, I feel like the survivors are just getting really annoyed, and they just like have not had an opportunity to find the box or the lament configuration just because it keeps popping up in front of me. So it was just like really weird RNG, and I was so hyped, dude. I wish I had recorded audio for the game, but it was so hyped. So we get Claudette on the scourge hook, and if you don't know what that does, after they get unhooked and heal, they actually have a penalty to healing and doing gens. It's an okay stall perk or slowdown perk. At this point, they do find the box. I think it's her. I get confused because she kind of ran in front of the icon. but it's actually someone inside the killer shack. They solve it, so I lose the chain hunt. But we do hook Lori, and I believe we get the down here. I don't think she makes it all the way to the pallet. Yeah, she doesn't commit to the killer shack, which honestly would have been the smarter play. I think if she could have, you know, used the pallet, it would have been, you know, fairly early. I mean, as you see, they are still at 5 gens, so it would have been like not the greatest situation, but it would have kept her stalling a little longer. So that's her second hook. I don't even remember hooking her, honestly. So we have her on a Scourge hook as well. I hear this gen being worked on, and barbecue and chili kind of comes into play. We start seeing the scritches. She's on her way to the hook, so I figure I'll chase her. She's running through. She's got the pallet. Very smart move. And I believe she drops it, but we counter that with a chain, and she does this really weird decision. I don't even know what that was. It happens a lot with Pinhead. I know it's been something like if they're holding the box and they try to solve it at the pallet, sometimes they'll accidentally go over the pallet with a slow vault, and it's really comical, actually. Right here, I'm not super familiar with this Auto Haven map. I usually play like Gas Heaven or literally any other Azerov's map, so I didn't realize that building only had the one entrance unless you break the door, so I went all the way around, but it worked out anyway. And she was so nice to give us this hook right in front of her. Finally, they get 1 gen done after being stuck at 5 gens for 5, almost 6 minutes. That is crazy. This is probably the best I've ever played a killer like early game. And I'm playing this at level 50 after a few games with the new MMR. This Claudette I think was the better of the group. It was like one really good Claudette, I remember. We do trap her at the loop, and that is where Pinhead really shines, I think, is stopping loops. It's even better than Doctor, in my opinion. Like, Doctor kind of can stop those types of things, but you have to, like, read it way ahead of time. There's a little bit of a delay, and it just doesn't work out a lot of the time, especially with, like, latency issues. You know, on your screen, you might have zapped them before the window, but on their screen, they're not zapped till they're through the window. But yeah, that Claudette is arguably the best one of the group. So you'll see I actually end up just abandoning her because she knows how to run the killer shack really well. So now I'm just going back to the generator that they were working on previously. We end up finding the other Claudette who was she was stuck in a chain hunt, and we get the free hit. I decide to abandon her, let her go after being injured, and we'll use Pop Goes the Weasel on the generator. And Pop actually, like, so strong. If you don't have it already, definitely use it. It's one of the best gen regression perks. I personally don't like to commit to Ruin, just because I don't think it's like all that amazing. But also this Claudette, she just, I don't know, she was trying to be stealth Claudette, or maybe she just, I don't know, panicked or something, but she was just self-carrying in a building, which is so typical of Claudette mains, honestly. They're always just self-carrying in a corner. And guys, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're playing Survivor and you run self-care, just honestly, it's not even worth it. You're better off just bringing a med kit if you want to heal yourself, and then use normal heals on your teammates. So the other Claudette comes in, she solves the cube, we end up teleporting, and she actually gives us a good run for our money here. She knows how to run the loop. I respect the pallet. Very big mistake. Typically, the other survivors were all pretty good about just dropping the pallets, but she was smarter. She used the advantage, and I actually leave this up thinking I can stop the loop, and I believe we do here with the possessed chain. And it stops her just enough. She dead hards through us, which was so hyphy. Like, honestly, such a good play. I decided to finally break the pallet because, I mean, it's just too strong for her. And then she ends up trying to go to Killer Shack. We get another possessed hook, and I believe we get the down here. Or she, oh no, she makes it to the pallet in the Killer Shack. That's right. And honestly, that's kind of a BS stun. I decide, you know what, she seems pretty good. Let's just abandon her. We see people getting rid of their Hex Plaything, which is actually underrated, I think. No one really talks about Hex Plaything, but it actually buys a lot of time. Like, it actually wastes time because they always tend to go look for those totems. And if they're doing totems, they're not doing gens, and that's a good thing in my book. So we find the stealth Claudette again. I believe she's dead on hook, so she's out of the game. She just really wanted to self-care in a corner. I don't know what was up with her, and that's why I'm really sort of mixed feelings on the skill-based matchmaking, because we get people like the other Claudette who seem to know what they're doing, and then we get that Claudette who's just constantly self-carrying in a corner. I used the possessed hook to check that gen to see if anyone's working on it. Of course, we find this Meg, and she kind of botched it. I felt like she didn't really know what she was doing either, and I was kind of questioning why she was in my game, and that's been happening a lot with skill-based matchmaking, honestly. We can talk about that a little bit in this game, but I do want to have a dedicated video somewhere down the line. But I keep getting these mixes of, like, maybe one player who knows what they're doing, and then 3 people who, like, I don't want to be insulting or anything, and, like, it's not confirmed, but sometimes it feels like bots. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of people have talked about how there's, like, some survivors in their games, and it feels like they're bots. My buddy, actually, he's a Deathslinger main when he does actually play Killer in DBD, and he had people who just would crouch walk everywhere in the open. They would just spin around, they do, like, nothing, or just run right towards you, and you know, I'd almost believe it. There are a few people out there who have some, you know, conspiracy theories that there's hidden bots now in DBD. The other Claudette actually knows how to play against Pinhead. She found the box. She probably ran around, found it with the aura. So we actually do get the free hit here. I decided to break the pallet because she knows how to run loops pretty good. And she makes it over to this tile set, which I think already had the pallet broken earlier by another survivor, but it still has the window. I can't really do anything about that. I figure she's still going to be running it. I try to mind game and hook her, but I miss, which is very unfortunate. I also have this problem where I'm constantly aiming down. It happens when I play Nurse too. Like if I try to teleport, it just happens to go down. Here it happens again. I miss. We hit the locker. And I figure, okay, she's just going to run Killer Shack. She dropped the pallet before. Let's finally break it. And then I decide to go look for the injured Meg, who's hidden somewhere. And she's so nice as to finish a gen right on time as I decide to leave that chase. And I start heading over her direction. And I figure I'd keep going left because I would see her running to the right after she completed the gen. And I actually end up hearing her. She's searching the box, which is another testament to the whole maybe there's hidden bots in the game's theory, but you know, I don't want to be too mean. But there's some questionable stuff, like the self-carrying Claudette inside of the garage and just in the middle. I get barbecue and chili, some good value here. I see the other Claudette also self-carrying across the map, and as a good Claudette main does, you know, you're not really a Claudette main if you're not self-carrying in a corner every, you know, minute or so. I use that to scout. She actually knew we were coming. I mind game, I fake the pallet because I figure she's watching. And she still makes it to the pallet, and on my screen I still hate that little bit there where you hit them through the pallet and they make the sound and everything, but it just doesn't actually work, and that's just a hit registry thing. That's a latency thing. As you can see, my internet for some reason was just like kind of botching this game, but we do manage to get over the possessed hook. We break the pallet, she loses her loop, she runs a Killer Shack, and we down her here for a very rather quick 4K, and I'm actually pretty proud of this one. And honestly, I feel like if I hadn't gotten the lament configuration off the bat, I would have lost this real hard. But I decided, you know, she gave me a good run for my money. I'll just drop her into the hatch, let her escape, because that was just such a good and lucky game on my end, and I don't know if I'll ever have another situation like that. But it was fun, and I'm glad to have had it. I'm really glad I recorded it because it was bonkers. But in these situations, Cenobite's ability, the chain hunt, didn't really feel very good like before, but if you manage to find the box like 3-4 times in a row right off the bat, that is so strong, and it'll actually win you the game. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, drop a like, hit that subscribe button. I'm starting a new job here pretty soon, so I'm gonna try to upload at least once a week. Otherwise, you can catch me over on Twitch, where I stream Dead by Daylight pretty often, as well as some other games, maybe some more horror games. But anyway, that's gonna be it for me. Take care of yourselves, drink some water, stay hydrated. Peace out.